The Nintendo Switch has an absolutely stacked library of games, one of the greatest libraries of all time and the best that any Nintendo system has ever seen. But if you just got a Switch or you're looking to add some games to your library, where do you even start? What are the games that every Switch owner should have in their library, or games they should at least experience once on the Switch? What are the essential Nintendo Switch games? That's the question that we're going to answer in today's video. Now, what makes the Switch's library so special is that it not only has absolutely amazing games from Nintendo, but it also has great games from both third parties and indies. Nintendo did their part by giving us stellar entries in many of their franchises, but the third parties and indies provided some absolutely stellar games too and helped to fill in the gaps and give the Switch one of the most well-rounded libraries of games that cover a wide spectrum of genres. So in today's video, I want to give you what I consider to be 20 essential games from Nintendo and from third party and indies. And we're going to break it down like this. So starting with Nintendo, I'm going to give you 5 of their very best games that take you on a peak single player experience. And then we know Nintendo is all about the family. They're all about playing together. They're all about making those memories with your friends. So for that, I'm going to give you 5 of the absolute best Nintendo multiplayer games that you need to have for your family or when you have friends coming over. These are the games that you need to be able to pull out and have ready to go for an awesome game night. And then I'm going to give you 5 third-party games that you absolutely need to experience on the Nintendo Switch. Games that were just a perfect fit on the Nintendo Switch and maybe even an impossible port or two. And then on the indie side, I'm going to give you 5 of the absolute best indie games that are just a great experience on the Nintendo Switch. What's up, everyone? This is Justin, and welcome to Just Keep Playing. Please join me today as we go over these 20 essential Nintendo Switch games. All right, so we're going to start things off with Nintendo and go over these 5 absolute peak single player experiences on the Nintendo Switch. And I said 5, but there are going to be 2 bonuses. We're going to start off with 2 right here, and then I'm going to have to give you a bonus game at the end of this video, so stick around for that. But we'll start off with Have to Do It, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. And I put these 2 together. They're like 1A and 1B for me. These are Breath of the Wild was the quintessential launch game for the Nintendo Switch. It was the game that proved the entire concept of the system. It was the game that sold the system. It was just an absolutely amazing and impactful experience. And I just feel anyone who owns a Switch needs to at least experience Breath of the Wild at least one time. It is one of the greatest games of all time, in my opinion, and one of my absolute favorite games of all time. The creativity that it allowed, the open world, and just that first Zelda experience that we had where literally we could go wherever we wanted to go, and just how everyone was just having their own different experience playing the game. And just this happened to me, and then calling one of my best friends and telling him what happened to me, but then hearing about what happened to him and how we were just having this completely different experience, but while playing the game at the same time. It was just such a magical and impactful moment. And people are still finding and doing crazy things in this game today. And then we have Tears of the Kingdom, which to me is even better than Breath of the Wild. And this Tears of the Kingdom takes the creativity to a whole nother level. And I think in Tears of the Kingdom, they did a much better job with the story in this game. And yes, I know that can be a bit of a controversial topic, but my time with Tears of the Kingdom, the emotion that I felt watching some of the things happen in that game, the Master Sword pull, just so many moments in this game that either made me feel things, made me feel emotions, or gave me those goosebumps. Tears of the Kingdom was just, I liked it even more than Breath of the Wild, and to me it was better than Breath of the Wild, and definitely is another one of my favorite games of all time. So that's why I put Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom together as a peak adventure that any Nintendo Switch owner needs to experience at least once. And then you can't bring up Breath of the Wild and not bring up its partner in crime for that 2017 launch, and that launch year, and that is Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey, another amazing game, and for me, one of the best 3D Mario games that there is. It's my favorite 3D Mario game. I was so excited when this game came out that I dedicated the weekend to playing that game, and I did not regret it. It was such a fun experience, and just, yeah, that game, it's still magical today. I watched my wife playing it, and just seeing her playing it kind of brought back up those memories of experiencing the game for the first time, and it made me want to start playing the game all over again myself. There were just so many moments in that game that were just a joy to experience for that first time playing it, and it still sticks with me to this day, and that's why Super Mario Odyssey is on this list. Now, the next game that I have on this list here is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Now, I already cheated a little bit by putting Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom together, so I won't do it here and just say Xenoblade Chronicles 1 through 3. But it is an absolutely peak experience if you start from the very beginning and play Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and then go on to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then Torn of the Golden Country, and then Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and then Future Redeemed. But I don't want to scare anybody off. So if Xenoblade Chronicles 3 looks appealing to you, that is one of the best stories. I will have to say it is most likely the best story of any Nintendo game that I've ever played. Talking about emotions, the emotions that this game took you on, the journey that it took you on, the roller coaster ride that it took on, man, there's a reason why the chapters of this game were trending when it first came out, and as people reached the end of certain chapters, and it was just trending just because of the crazy moments, the heartfelt moments, the impactful moments, the emotional moments, just so many moments in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And then the combat, the gameplay, I love the combat system in this game, and just being able to find the different play styles that work with you, with getting the different hero classes in the game. Then the music, Xenoblade series always has just some of the absolute best music, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 did not disappoint in that. So just the entire package, the story, the music, the gameplay, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is an absolute peak experience that I just want more people to experience, and that I feel every Nintendo Switch owner should experience at least once. And then probably Xenoblade's main rival when it comes to story from Nintendo would be Fire Emblem Three Houses. That game, again, I love the story in that game. The cast of characters is some of my favorite from any RPG period. I still got a soft spot in my heart for my team Blue Lions from Three Houses. That Fire Emblem strategy gameplay, combat, it just feels like home. I love the Fire Emblem combat, and just Three Houses, it just took things to another level, and It's a reason why this is the best-selling strategy RPG, I think, of all time. It is just the absolute peak experience that is pretty welcoming for newcomers in my opinion. So Fire Emblem Three Houses is an absolutely essential experience on the Nintendo Switch. And then lastly, but definitely not least, we have Astral Chain. Astral Chain is the new franchise experience from Nintendo on the Nintendo Switch. This game has style for days. It's got that sauce, it's got that flavor. The action combat in this game is just perfection. The unique system of being able to control two characters at the same time can be a lot to get used to, but once you get used to it, things just flow and it just feels so good to just string combos together by sending out one legion and then summoning another one and then sending that one out and then summoning another one and just keep doing that, and then you fighting alongside with them. I love the combat in the game. The story is pretty much, standard story, but it gets the job done. But I absolutely love my time with this game. It's absolutely one of the best experiences on the Switch, one of the best games, and one of my top 5 favorite games on the Switch. And I really hope that we get a sequel to this game. I know Platinum Games, the masters that made this one, they're going through some hard times right now, but hopefully they can pull things through, or at least Nintendo can maybe find someone else to take the reins for this game. But Astral Chain is an essential game to be experienced on the Nintendo Switch. But Nintendo's not just about the single player experiences. It's also about the moments that you have with your family and with your friends. And so these are the 5 essential games for gaming memories with your family and your friends. And we can't start this off without naming the game that just refuses to stop selling, and that is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That game is still going. A decade later, it's still going strong, and it is still just as much fun to play. Yes, I'm excited for a new Mario Kart when the next Switch comes out, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still such a fun and amazing time with friends, with family. I've been playing it a little bit more recently, and the multiplayer modes in that game are just still such a blast to play. I love the expansion that we got with the booster course and some of the new courses that we got. It is essentially is a brand new Mario Kart now, and definitely an essential experience for family and friends. And then we have to mention the game that got us through that crazy time back in 2020, the game that helped keep us together, the game that helped us hang out when maybe we couldn't physically do that, and that is Animal Crossing. There is so much to do in Animal Crossing, so much creativity that you can do to express yourself, to make the type of island getaway that you want to make. And yeah, Animal Crossing was definitely a special moment in time when it came out, and one of my most cherished experiences during this era of the Switch. I wasn't really a big Animal Crossing fan like that before playing New Horizons, but now after New Horizons, I'm excited for and anticipating that next Animal Crossing as well. So Animal Crossing is an amazing game and an essential game for family and friends. And then next up, we have Super Mario Wonder. Super Mario Wonder brought back style and uniqueness and just pure unadulterated fun to 2D Mario. I loved how they did the multiplayer in Super Mario Wonder. You had that couch co-op where you can play with 4 people together on one Switch, but they also did a really good job with the online as well, where previously in Super Mario 3D World, the online in there was super laggy and just not the optimal experience for a platformer because of the way that they did it. But in Super Mario Wonder, essentially using your friends or randoms ghost data in a way, it just made for a smoother and less intrusive experience for online for Super Mario Wonder. And it was a cool and fun experience doing some of the puzzle levels, and how you would have just random people, you would just see them jumping over in the area trying to help other people out to say, hey, this is where this part of the puzzle is, and this is where this part of the puzzle is, and just leaving clues and tips and hints for other players. I really applaud how they did the online in Super Mario Wonder, and it's definitely something that they continue on with for the future of 2D Mario. And 2D Mario is always a blast to play with someone sitting next to you on the couch. That couch co-op experience is just undefeated. So Super Mario Wonder, I love that game. Absolutely amazing, and another essential multiplayer experience on the Nintendo Switch. And then we've had Mario Kart, that's about our competition. Animal Crossing, about hanging out together. Super Mario Wonder, about playing together and conquering a level together. But then we have Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, the ultimate competitive experience, but also can double as the ultimate party experience. Just one of the best fighting games of all time, one of the best games of all time. I love some Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. The roster of characters is just ridiculous. It's insane. Like, I think there's nearly 90 characters in this game, and literally every character from a previous Smash is in here. The hype cycle for the DLC characters is just unmatched, and again, another one of those moments in time during the Switch era where just the anticipation for who's going to be the next DLC character and speculations on who might make it into the Fighters Pass. Smash was just, pardon the pun, it was definitely one of the ultimate experiences on the Nintendo Switch. My GameStop here in town, they would do midnight releases for big new games, and while we were waiting, we'd have a Smash Ultimate tournament, and just played so much Smash during this generation. I tried my hand at a couple tournaments here and there and got absolutely bodied, but had a fun time doing it. And that's the beauty of Smash. You can take it super seriously, and it can be played super competitively, but it's also fun just to get together with your friends and just play. And if you're button mashing, you're button mashing. If you're playing super technical, you can play super technical, but everybody can have fun while they're doing it. Recently, for my birthday, we had a Mario Party themed birthday, and one of the things that I wanted to do was play some Smash, and we played a little bit of Smash, and it was just such a fun time, and just reminded me of just how absolutely goated that game is. And that is why Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is most definitely, without a doubt, one of the top 5 essential multiplayer experiences on the Nintendo Switch. And then when talking about multiplayer experiences on the Nintendo Switch, you cannot leave out the Splatoon series. And I know we have debates on how much fun people had between 2 and 3. I loved my time with 2, but I really love 3 as well. So for me, I'm going with Splatoon 3. It is team-based game to play with your friends. I got to do some Splatfest with some of my Twitter peeps out there, and just had a blast doing that. It has co-op modes with the Salmon Run mode on it, and just the style in the game and the music and just flavor. It has it all. Splatoon 3 is a great multiplayer experience, and I love the world and the lore that they've created with this series, and I'm excited to see where they go with it in the future. But I really had a blast with Splatoon 3, and it is definitely one of the best team-based shooters that you can play, and it is one of the best that you can experience on the Nintendo Switch. Now, on the third-party side of things, I had to start off with an impossible port. One of the big things that just made the Switch so exciting when it first came out was getting some of those huge AAA third-party experiences that you could play at home and on the go for the first time. Like now, it's a little bit more commonplace with things like all these PC handhelds going on and everything. But initially, back in 2017, the Switch was the main place we had to play these AAA third-party experiences and to be able to play them on the go. And one of my favorite experiences with that was Doom 2016. Doom, that I had so much fun playing that game. It was cool, to play it on the big screen and everything, and just to have that game on a Nintendo system. But where it really just came into play for me was I would be taking my lunch break at work and to be able to go sit in my car, pull out my Switch, and start playing Doom 2016 on the Switch handheld. That was just such a dream come true, and that to me proved the concept of the Switch almost just as much as being able to play Breath of the Wild, both docked and in handheld mode. So Doom 2016, one of my favorite experiences on the Switch from third parties. It may not look as amazing as some of the other versions, but it looks good enough and it runs pretty well. And I had a really, really good time with Doom 2016. And then next up, we have Persona 5 Royal. Persona 5 Royal, that was one of the games that Atlas fans, Switch fans, Persona fans had just been begging for Sega, for Atlas, to bring that game to the Switch. People just did not understand, why can't we get Persona 5 on the Switch? We need Persona 5 on the Switch, and we finally got it, and it lived up to the hype. I pretty much love being able to play any RPG on my Switch. That is my preferred place for RPG type games. I love being able to play it on the big screen, play it on the TV, and just get absorbed into that experience. But then, okay, hey, maybe I need to do some grinding or just do some random side quest or whatnot, not just diving into the main story. And for that, I really love being able to do that portably while maybe watching something on TV, watching the game or something like that. And so being able to do that with Persona 5 Royal on the Switch was incredible. And so Persona 5 Royal, for me, it is one of those essentials that I love being able to have on my Switch. It was already an essential RPG experience that if you loved RPGs, it was one of those games that you just have to play. But now it is one of the essential games that you can experience on the Nintendo Switch. And then you can't talk about the Switch and third parties and not bring up an HD 2D game. There are so many amazing ones to choose from. You had the original Octopath Traveler 2. Right now, I'm knee deep in Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D remake and absolutely loving that game. But right now, my favorite one out of all of those, Live Alive was awesome too, but my absolute favorite one, my favorite experience was Triangle Strategy. As I've said earlier, I love Fire Emblem. That is one of my favorite games, and just that strategy gameplay, that strategy combat it just feels like home. It's like my comfort type of game. Triangle Strategy, it stands toe to toe with the best of Fire Emblem games. The HD 2D art style is beautiful in this game, and it pops on that OLED screen, and it looks beautiful on the TV as well. This game had choices that could impact the story, and making those choices were nerve-wracking. I loved the story in this game. Unfortunately I didn't get the best ending, but that gives me a reason to go back and experience the game again to try to get that good ending. And Triangle Strategy is not just one of the best third-party games on the Switch, it's just one of the best games on the Switch, period. And it's a game that I would love for so many more people to try out and give a chance. So I had to take an opportunity to shout it out here. And again, it's another one of those games that it has a demo where your progress will carry over to the main game. So if Triangle Strategy intrigues you, you can check out that demo, give it a shot, and see if you like it. And if you do, now you have another essential Switch game that you can add to your list. And then there are a ton of really good compilations available on the Switch, and just it's a great place to play classic games from all the way back from the NES to the 16-bit Super Nintendo era to the PS1, PS2, Xbox 360. You can just play so much of gaming history on the Switch. But for me, one of the most essential compilations available right now is the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters that has Final Fantasy 1 through 6 available to play on there. And really, I can recommend this one just off the strength of one game, and that is Final Fantasy VI, widely considered to be one of the greatest RPGs of all time, one of the greatest games of all time. I was so happy when Square Enix finally came to their senses and brought Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters to modern consoles, and we were able to play these classics on a modern system. And I've been playing through Final Fantasy VI this year and absolutely loving experiencing this classic game, and it most definitely holds up. And it is one of those games that if you love RPGs, if you love a great story, if you love a good combat system, if you love good music in your games, it is one of those games that you absolutely should experience at least one time in your life. And so that's what makes the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters an essential game on the Nintendo Switch. And then last but not least, we got Monster Hunter Rise, game that Capcom built from the ground up for the Nintendo Switch, and this game blew up, and it was such a fun game to play with your friends, to do co-op, to do some missions together and take down monsters together. And it was even also fun to play by yourself as well. But it's just a great game that showed what third parties could do with the Nintendo Switch when they developed with that system in mind. And it was definitely one of my favorite experiences on the Switch. And I love the movement options that the Palamute and the Wirebug added to Monster Hunter. My weapon of choice was the dual blades, and it just felt so cool to use those. You felt like a ninja just jumping around and dodging and using your Wirebug and then coming at the monsters with the dual blades. And there's just so much to do in the game. There's just been continuous updates. You had the Sunrise expansion. Monster Hunter Rise is just such a huge game and is absolutely a third-party Switch essential. And as we get to these final 5 games, before we get to our bonus one, so don't forget to stick around for that bonus game. But to round things out, have 5 indie essentials. The indies have been absolutely killing it on the Switch, and it has been oftentimes where with these indie games, they were some of the best, if not the best games to come out in the years that they came out. So to start things off, I have to go with a game that's one of the greatest action games of all time, in my opinion, and that game is Hades. Hades, definitely, it would have been my game of the year that it came out, if it wasn't for playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for the first time that year as well. But Hades is Just such a really good action game, and it's so good that I'm not the biggest fan of roguelikes. That's one of those where you can see this game that looks really cool, and then you hear the words roguelike, and that almost immediately turns me off. But Hades was so good in spite of all of that. The combat in Hades is just so smooth and it just flows, and especially when you find that weapon that just works so well with you, and then the controller melts into your hands and you just go on an awesome run with that weapon. It just feels so good to control. The game, it can be difficult. It's not the easiest game. It can be a little hard, but it does enough, and you are going to die a lot in this game, but it does enough to kind of keep you going, to keep pushing you to try, like, okay, I know I can get further next time. I know I can get further next time. I know that I can have a better run, until you finally get to that end boss, and then you go against him just to lose again, and you're like, oh man, I was right there, but I'm going to do it again. And then when you finally take him out, it just feels like such an accomplishment. Hades was just awesome game. The music in it was really good. Just an overall fantastic game. Definitely one of the top indies on the Switch, and just one of the top overall games on the Switch. All right, next up we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I am a huge Ninja Turtles fan. Turtles in Time is one of my favorite games of all time. So when this game was announced, I was so hyped and excited for this one, and it lived up to that hype for me. One of my absolute favorite games, period. It is a fantastic beat 'em up. It controls really well. You have your standard Ninja Turtle characters with all of the turtles, and then Splinter and April, but we got some really cool additions as well, with Casey Jones, Usagi Yojimbo, and Mona Lisa, I think was her name. But yeah, just one of the absolute best beat 'em ups available across any system. It played fantastically with couch co-op, but it also performed really well online. I played the entire game co-op with my wife sitting next to me, and then with my sister on the other side of the country, playing it online, and then also left it open for other people to come in and join us. And so there were times where we had the full, 6-player co-op, and it was so chaotic, but it was so much fun. And then just playing through the game, it just was such a cool nostalgic trip, where I'm like, oh man, I had that toy, or oh man, I remember that character from the cartoon, or just, yeah, it was just a blast to play. And it was still even fun for those that don't have the nostalgic memories for the Ninja Turtles as well. So Shredder's Revenge, definitely an indie essential. And then next up, we also have Dead Cells, which that one, right along with Hades, was one of those, like, if you don't like roguelikes, you don't like the game that you die and you have to start all over with your build. This was one of those games that was still incredibly fun to play, and a favorite in spite of it being a roguelike. And it just, yeah, it's another one of those really good action games that just controls so well, and it just has had so many really cool updates to go along with it, with the most recent one being the Castlevania update. They've put so much into this game, and you can just lose so many hours playing it, but it would be time well spent, and just such an incredibly fun time with one of the best action games in Dead Cells. And then next up, we have Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars was one of those games, again, when it was announced, just the look of it immediately caught my attention, and I was immediately excited and hyped for the game. And then when you knew its inspirations came from games like Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG, that was enough. I was sold. And then on top of that, it came from the team that made Messenger, the Ninja Gaiden inspired game. So it just had everything going for it, and for me, it definitely lived up to that hype for me. And then with even the more recent update now, where you can do 3-player co-op, that just takes it to another level and makes it an even better game. So Sea of Stars, the combat in the game was already a blast to play. I love when turn-based RPGs give you action commands to go along with the battles, so you can do extra hits or block enemy attacks, and just it keeps you involved with the combat. And now with the 3-player co-op addition to it, only one of you has to get that. So if one of you gets it right, does the extra hits or it blocks the enemy's attack. And I think that's just such a cool feature. The art style in the game is beautiful. It just looks so good on the OLED screen, and it looks good on the TV as well. The music is really good. It's just an overall great RPG and one of the best indie games on the Switch, and an indie essential in my opinion. And then next up we have one of the best games to come out this year, Balatro, the roguelike poker game. Again, another one of those roguelikes, but it's so much fun that if whether or not you like roguelike games, you would have a blast playing Balatro. Not only will you have a blast, but you will lose so much time, but have a blast doing it. It's one of those games that just urges you on to get a better run going, that you know that you can do better in the next run, or you just want to see what kind of deck can I build in my next run, or what kind of jokers can I get. It's just definitely a incredible game, addictive game. So many people have put hundreds of hours into it. So for a poker game to get that kind of playtime out of people, you know you have a really good game going. And it's a game that has stayed incredibly relevant all year long, with a bunch of cool updates involving other games, to include The Witcher and Vampire Survivor and Dave the Diver. There's just so much that's been added to this game, and so once you play it, you will realize why it has been considered one of the best games of the year. And even cooler is the fact that it was made by one person. So I always think that is really cool when a game like that, made by one person, manages to just capture the imagination, manages to just capture the cultural zeitgeist of the moment, and just becomes this huge thing. So Balatro is an incredible game, one of the best indies, and just one of the best games on the Switch. It's the perfect portable game, mobile game, handheld game. So Balatro, a Nintendo Switch indie essential. So yeah, the Switch's library is absolutely stacked. And with these 20 essentials, you have any of these in your library, you have a good time waiting for you, and just some of the best gaming experiences available today on the Switch. But like I said, before we go, we have a bonus game. I could not leave this game off of the list. When you talk about one of the peak experiences on the Switch from Nintendo, one of the absolute best games, peak games, I had to show some love to Metroid Dread. One of my absolute favorite games, period. Definitely one of my favorite games on the Switch. Metroid is one of those pinnacle Nintendo franchises, and to get a brand new 2D entry, but not just a 2D entry, but a game that had been talked about for years, that we thought was a game that was just going to be lost to time, that we would never get to experience this game that we heard about, but it actually came to fruition, and we got to play it, and it is so good. One of the best games available to play on the Switch. And in my opinion, to me, it is the best 2D Metroid game out of all of them. Super Metroid was my favorite for the longest time, but this game came in and just took the crown. So Metroid Dread, again, you talk about a game that just feels good to control. The movement, the combat, the gameplay is just incredibly smooth and it just flows. Controlling Samus just feels like a dream. It's just an absolutely phenomenal game, and definitely one that is an essential Switch game in my book. But what do you think? Is there a game that I left off? Is there an essential game that you think should have been included? Or are one of these games one that you don't think is essential and there's another game that you would put in its place? Let me know in the comments below, what are your essential Switch games from Nintendo, indie, or third party? Let me know in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, if you like Nintendo Switch conversation and gaming discussion, please hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later. Have a good one. Peace.